Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the first edition of Reptiles in the News, a weekly show that's going to try to keep you current on the happenings of what's happening in the animal world, the reptile world, and all around. Let's go ahead and jump into our first story, and this is a pretty interesting one. As a guy that loves dinosaurs and ancient stuff, a 99-million-year-old baby snake was found in a fossil. That's right. Instead of hatching out and crawling on his way, he actually got stuck in sticky resin and ended up turning into an amber tomb. Now, it may not have ended up well for the snake, but the truth is this was an amazing thing for researchers because they were able to see an animal all the way from the Cretaceous era. And what's more interesting is the fact that not only did you get the baby snake crawling out of the egg, but there was actually a piece of shed skin that may very well have been from its mom. Scientists have been finding many creatures in amber in Miramar for the last several decades, but it's unusual to find an entire vertebrate like this baby snake. And what's more interesting is that amber is like a stickiness which catches everything. So while this snake was caught, also all of its surroundings were caught in this amber, giving the scientists an opportunity to actually see where it dwelled. And in this particular case, it was definitely a forest dweller. I don't know about you guys, but I get excited about this stuff. I'm a biology nut. I love science. I'd like to know from you guys, would you like to do this type of research? How do you feel? As with all these stories, I'm going to leave it with you guys. Go ahead and comment down below. Let me know what you think about this story. In this next story, it's kind of a little bit of a sad one. I get asked more than anything, do snakes actually eat people? Well, in this particular story, it actually did happen. Now, it is extremely rare. As a matter of fact, there's only been a handful of reports since 1934 where people have actually been eaten by constrictors all around the world. With that being said, a 54-year-old woman, Wa Tabat, on an island of Muna, Indonesia, went out with a flashlight one evening to check her vegetable garden. It seems that wild boars had been raiding her garden. She wanted to protect her garden. The next morning, the villagers realized she hadn't come home. When they went to search for her, sure enough, her sandals and even a machete were found in the spot where her garden was, but there was no sign of her. About 165 feet away, they found a bloated, reticulated python. Unfortunately, they disposed of the snake. They cut the snake open, and Tabat's body was actually found inside the snake, completely clothed. Now, again, this is an extremely rare situation, and I never want to sensationalize things like snakes eat people, but in this rare occasion, it can happen. Now, again, as people are encroaching on snakes' territory, these types of events are a little bit more common. And there are some villages in certain parts of Indonesia that have had quite a run-in with attacks with reticulated pythons. Fortunately, very few of them are fatal, and unfortunately, the majority of the time, the snake loses the battle. Now, again, I never like to spread the fact that snakes can eat people, but it does happen on extremely rare occasion. We have to continue to educate people on the rarity of something like this happens. Certainly, there's more danger waking up and walking out your front door than potentially ever being attacked by a python of any case. But I want to leave it to you guys. I mean, how do we deal with a situation like this? I mean, we should talk about it. We should certainly get it out there, but we have to educate people. What is your thoughts on that? Go ahead down in the comments and let me know what you think about this story. Let's move on to a story that's a little bit more lighthearted. There was actually something that recently was launched that was called Rockin' Reptile Bash. That's right. It was in Wilmington, North Carolina, and it's for a rescue called Fresh Start Rescue. Now, this group actually decided, let's go ahead and have a bash, put it on, and maybe raise some funds for the rescue, where they rescue, they rehome, and they rehabilitate reptiles that are not being cared for properly, or whatever the case may be. I think this is a pretty ingenious idea to somehow have a group come together, gives you an excuse to party it up, and hopefully loosen up your checkbook a little bit. Now, I love reptile rescues, and I love all animal rescues for that matter, but there's always something that really plagues these organizations, and that is funds. You have to remember, they're taking in animals that, again, are unwanted, maybe outgrow their environment, whatever the case may be, and these animals have to go somewhere, but they have to be taken care of, which costs money. And with my personal experience, the majority of rescues that I know are unbelievably loving people and really want to give amazing care to the reptiles that they rescue, whether they're going to be keeping them, rehabilitating them, using for educational shows, or eventually rehoming them. But again, it can be very costly. You have electricity, you have food, you have time, you have labor, you of course have caging and all kinds of other things that go along with it. I think the Rockin' Reptile Bash is a pretty good idea. I want to know from you guys, is this going to be a trend? Will other reptile rescues actually follow suit and do parties like this and hopefully help with their funding issues? We actually reached out to the Fresh Start Reptile Rescue and asked how it went. So far, we haven't heard back from them, but when we do, I'll definitely keep you guys updated. Again, I'd like to know if you guys think this is a good idea. Would this be something that you would go to and maybe contribute to? Maybe you can talk to your local reptile rescue and have them do it. This next story is actually with a personal friend of mine, so I want to be completely transparent that I have some bias with this story. My good friend Robbie Kesey from Bushnell, Florida had a recent horrible tragedy happen at his place. He has a whole host of reptiles that he actually uses for educational shows as well as breeding, and he loves his crocodilians, one of the things that he's certainly known for. Well, unfortunately, a few weeks back, a horrible tragedy happened at his property. As per the Sumter County Sheriff's Department, they said that someone had broken into one of his buildings, actually stole his extremely rare leucistic alligator named Snowball, which was kind of one of his mascots, and then actually arson and set the place on fire to cover their tracks. As of this date, we don't have too many leads. We're not really sure what happened. Unfortunately, 43 animals perished in the fire, as well as another building was damaged with his snakes. Now, fortunately, those snakes were okay, but the fact is that 43 of his dear animals perished in the fire, and apparently, Snowball, the leucistic alligator, was stolen. Now, there's no signs of it yet, but there is a $15,000 reward for any information that could potentially bring Snowball back. I also have personally started a GoFundMe page. You can go down the link in the description. You can see that. Like I said, I am personally attached to this. Robbie's a good friend of mine, and I really feel terrible for what he's went through. I'd like to know what you guys think. I mean, this is a horrible, horrible situation. I can't imagine if someone was going to not only steal your animals, and then would be such horrible people to actually burn the place down and kill the rest of your animals. What kind of human being does that? I mean, it's again a horrible act to take anyone's animal. I cannot imagine it happening to me. But then to make matters even worse and trying to cover your tracks by burning the place down and knowing that you're going to kill those animals. Certainly, I hope that someone will step forward with some information and at least bring these people to justice. Nothing will bring those 43 animals back, but hopefully Robbie can get his Snowball back. So if you have any information, definitely let us know and check out the link in the description. And the last story that I'm going to cover is a little bit of a lighthearted one, or at least ended lighthearted. You know, I took a little bit of grief because I went to visit my friends down at Gatorland, which are absolutely amazing people. I love Savannah, Mike, Mark. You guys always treat me so amazing. And if you ever get to the Orlando area, you must visit Gatorland. But with that said, my visit there, they tried to get me to go on the zip line. I was actually there with Omar Gosh. The idea was, let's see if we can get Brian to do the zip line. Well, I'm a little bit of a wimp, and I did my best. I suited up and everything, and in the end, I really chickened out.
We're going to gear you up. You're going all the way up to the top. Get up to the ramp, and then we'll make a decision. This is way too soon. This is way too soon.
Brian is scared.
Well, it turns out that maybe I have the last laugh because sure enough, a man and his son were caught dangling almost 40 feet in the air over an alligator pond.
You really think you're having a bad day? Let me show you what a real bad day looks like.
That's right, they went to zipline and they got stuck. Well, fortunately, they were rescued in a relatively short amount of time, and apparently this happens often, not only at Gatorland, but at other zipline places as well. So listen, maybe I'm a little bit of a wimp, or maybe I'm just smarter than everyone else and I didn't want to take the chance, because if I got caught up on that zipline, that would have been a major problem for me, but I don't know. The fact is, Gatorland is a truly amazing place. I love it. I would go to Gatorland over Disneyland any day, although I love Disneyland too. But I want to know from you guys, what do you feel about ziplining? And have you ever been to Gatorland? Tell me your experience, because it's really an incredible place. And with that said, I want to know also what you thought about this in the news. Would you like us to continue to do this each week? Because our thoughts are each Friday we'll come out with a new in the news story. Go down below and tell me if you have something you'd like us to cover in next week's show. And as always, be kind to someone today. And that was Reptiles in the News.